Adpocalypse, I guess 3.0 is what we're on right now. And it all started with failed right-wing comedian Steven Crowder. See, for a very long time, Mr. Crowder has been attacking a particular Vox reporter by the name of Carlos Maza, using gay slurs against him, selling shirts with gay slurs on them, generally being a horrible piece of crap human being. That's what Steven Crowder's been doing. And he finally got called on it. Carlos Maza went out there for several days on Twitter calling out YouTube for doing nothing about the fact that Steven Crowder was harassing him repeatedly in his videos that he was making a lot of money off of. Well, finally, YouTube did what YouTube does best and overreacted to the entire situation. Yes, they demonetized Steven Crowder's channel, which he 100% deserves.
Fuck you. Oh my God. Well, then I guess you deserve it too.
Although technically this is not a permanent demonetization, and he is able to get monetization back on his channel if, of course, he stops selling the shirts, stops linking to the shirts, and stops saying all of the horrible things that have actually made him popular, which he likes.
It's just incredible for a quote-unquote liberal to be advocating for this fascist bullshit. Real quick, AHNCO, I had no cattle. I don't see anything in the uncensored chat. If you want to put it in the regular description, I'll just read it out.
Likely won't do. But in the crossfire, YouTube, as I pointed out, overreacted. So they're just starting to demonetize everybody once again. And the problem with this...
I just realized the absurdity of the situation. I can make a joke out of it. Alright, so I started streaming as a hobby, but I get bored streaming. So I'll watch other streamers, and sometimes they'll watch other streamers and comment on their videos. And if someone's watching me, they essentially got 4 layers deep of painting. I got the last laugh right there. So you got me, you're watching one person. I'm watching another guy who's what? 2 layers of Inception. And then 3. We got 3 layers of Inception going on right now. Now if I can get a streamer to watch me, we can go deeper. I don't know if I want to go deeper.
Is that you have a lot of great voices on the left.
Oh, you poor baby. So you aren't happy that they're going after your own people too. You only want their side to be censored. Mommy. Oh, mommy.
People who call out Republican hate, Republican hypocrisy, endless wars, unjustifiable wars. All of those people are now also being demonetized because apparently those are topics you're also not allowed to discuss on YouTube.
Well, you're being fucked in the bed you made, sir.
And to be honest, a lot of that has been going on for a long time.
If you would have listened to us, none of this would have happened. Can you imagine what it would be like if the left didn't advocate for censorship? There would be none of this shit would be happening. YouTube wouldn't give a fuck if no one was appealing to them. By the way, there was this video Tim Pool did. This is something to watch for. He found the email. Remember that guy, Enrique Tarrio? He lost his Chase bank account or whatever. That was at the behest of a journalist. We're in a society right now that a fucking lunatic journalist can call up your bank and they'll close your account. And he had the email. It's a great video. It's going to be interesting. I really think they're going to go after Tim Pool. He like acknowledged that in the video. He's like, they're probably going to come after me for this. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so this is what it is. Lunatic journalists are just calling up banks to get people removed, and the banks are going along with it, which is insane.
We, for example, if we do a video, if you mention racism, terrorism, hell, if you mention the opioid crisis, if you mention Syria or Yemen or Saudi Arabia,
the Wall Street
guess
Journal.
what? You're going to get demonetized. And I'm willing to bet that just by saying those words right now, this video will likely end up being demonetized. But, again, you've got people who basically depend on this for their livelihood, out there calling out right-wing hate.
Yeah, and there's people on the other side that depend on it for their livelihood. Like, what kind of a fucker are you? only we should be allowed to make a living, and they shouldn't be because they're bad and they support the orange bad man.
Hate and hypocrisy, and their videos are being demonetized, their channels are being demonetized, and that's not fair to them. You know, this algorithm.
I really do. Part of me really wants to see the left get hammered with this shit. I would laugh my ass off. Oh my God, would I laugh.
Has swept them up. Even though they're not promoting these horrible ideas, they're calling it out. They deserve better. Steven Crowder, on the other hand, 100% deserves to be demonetized.
Fuck you,
and
asshole.
to go ahead and counter the argument, no, nobody is censoring him. Nobody has said, Steven Crowder, we're deleting your channel. He is still
Yeah,
allowed.
there's plenty of other people, though, that has happened to them. What a piece of shit this guy is.
To put up his hate-filled videos all day, every day. He hasn't been silenced in any way. It's just YouTube
videos.
saying you're not going to be able to profit off of your hatred. We all have a right to free speech, right? But none of...
Yeah, man, the way these guys mock that shit, this is the problem. If you get down to the tactic thing, they mock the fact and they exploit the fact that their opponents have a sense of decency. And you can argue that that sense of decency hurts the right strategically. Because these people don't give a shit. They mock you with it. They spit in your face with it. And we're at a point here, at least when we're talking about tactics online and shit, as far as like the whole thing with Keemstar and him advocating for going after Fox's advertisers. Yeah, like if you don't do that, then what's going to happen? They're just going to keep doing this? And then you're just going to take it and be done, right? I mean, what other options are there? This is where this shit's getting tough now. Like, and that's the thing. I do think they use the sense of decency, or maybe that's not a good term for it. Maybe not a sense of decency. Just the hesitancy to use their same tactics back. They absolutely use that to their strategical advantage. It's
of us. Nowhere in any law in this country is it written that we have a right to profit off hateful speech. And that's what Steven Crowder is starting to realize, and I think that's what a lot of people in this country need to realize about this. Yeah, we have freedom of speech. We don't have freedom to profit off of that speech, regardless of what that speech is.
Okay, good. You should get your channel demonetized then, because someone's going to deem you hateful, and there you go. Boom. That's how it works.
But therein lies the other problem. For those of us who depend on YouTube, that's our platform, that's where we post our videos, that's where we make our money, and I'm using we collectively, that's a very bad business model. I'm sorry to say that, but it truly is.
And
We're depending, all these other folks are depending on a website that they have no control over, that they do not own, that they have no say in, that is, subject to change their algorithms or their rules on a whim. They're depending on them.
Literally on a whim with this whole Crowder Vox adpocalypse thing. They changed the rules like overnight.
To host their videos and send them money from the ad revenue. That's a bad business model. That is not a sustainable business model. There has to be a better way, and there is, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, but before I do, I got to go through a couple lessons here. I was around during the Air America days, in the very early days of Air America, all the way through the end. That progressive news outlet hemorrhaged money from day one. I personally, on behalf of other people there at the network, I was working in Pensacola for Air America up in New York. I would have to get on the phone with wealthy people all throughout this country, wealthy liberals, begging them to send some money to Air America. Please, for the love of God, send some money to Air America. It's our only voice. It's our only network. It's all we have. Sometimes they would. Most of the time they wouldn't. The network limped along as long as it could. It gave us some great voices in this country, but eventually fell under. We personally down here in Pensacola, back in 2007, started something called Go Left TV. And it was essentially what I'm doing right now. It was online videos with progressive news and commentary.
So basically, when we do our ventures, we're allowed to do it. They shouldn't be allowed to make money and make a living, but we should be.
Want to use YouTube, which was very new at the time. It did not even have ads at the time. You couldn't even upload a video that was longer than 10 minutes at the time. So we created our own hosting service.
HNCO had no cattle said, I pointed out how often these idiots repeated themselves on the TYT panel. They kept saying, grifter, one-trick pony, Duncan and doesn't do the legwork, retards. Yeah, that's like all they have. I haven't seen them ever actually approach a point. That's rich. That threesome calling people stupid. That's incredible.
Our own video player, our own video format, and by doing that, spent thousands of dollars a month just in hosting fees, and never once brought in $1 in revenue.
What the fuck does
Not
this
profit,
have to do with anything?
revenue.
I don't care. Who gives
So
a
that
shit?
project, although it was good, successful, people liked it, it also hemorrhaged money. But then along came YouTube with their ads, and suddenly there was a place where progressive media could be profitable.
Oh, so you fucked it up for everyone and yourselves. Oh.
And now they're taking that away.
Oh, no.
And we should have known that was
man,
coming,
that
right? Again, we
That
don't own
sucks.
YouTube. We don't own the platform. We don't own the servers. We don't get to say what the rules are going to be. We're at their mercy.
Yeah.
And that's never sustainable.
Thank the Wall
So
Street
what
Journal.
do we do? How do we fight back? Well, I think David Pakman said it best yesterday on Twitter. This is what he said. If you don't like advertiser boycotts of shows you like, then don't make media reliant on ad dollars. This is why I've been trying
Oh my God. I take this a different way.
to grow direct memberships for years. Every dollar from membership is
Again, that won't matter when they take that away. You think they can't touch that if they want to? Are you kidding me?
$1 of immunity from advertisers, YouTube, Facebook. And that's the method,
Not
folks.
immunity from banks.
If these channels are getting demonetized, there are ways to help them. And that's what this is about. You know, maybe they have a Patreon. Maybe they have a membership option on their
Dude, it's
YouTube channel where
clueless.
you can just give them a few dollars each month.
Retard. If your channel is demonetized, then you can't join as a member because you don't have monetization. I don't even think he understands the basics of how this shit works.
You know, I want to put it to you this way. Take two of the biggest folks out there right now. You have Kyle Kalinske and you have David Pakman. I think both of them are well over 600,000 subscribers. If only 10% of their subscribers gave them $1 per month, that's $60,000 a month to help.
And it would get taken away if the banks or whoever, the outrage mob of either side, wants to take it away. I guess he doesn't understand the full problem. It's almost like he just realized there was a problem, which is funny. Conservatives have been knowing about this shit for a while now. It's almost like for the first time he's like, oh man, they can do that to us too? Oh, damn. Mommy.
Help support progressive media. If 5%, then you're looking at $30,000 a month. Do you see what I'm saying? Like all these channels, if they have 100,000 subscribers, 200,000 or 50,000 or even less, whatever it is, if you support them, become a member. And not just with the YouTube channel or the Patreon. A lot of them offer podcast subscriptions. You know, exclusive access through their websites. Give the money directly to them instead of sending it through a third party. There's some great voices out there.
I'm sorry, is there some sort of porthole on David Pakman's? Does he have like a Star Trek thing where you insert money and it goes right to him? There's no third-party processor? Like, I really think he has no idea what he's talking about. I guarantee you Pakman's using PayPal or something like that. Jimmy would probably know.
You know, David, Kyle, Sam Cedar, the Rational National, Humanist Report, Around the World with Jeff Waldorf, David Dole, all these guys are absolutely wonderful. And many of them are suffering right now because of this adpocalypse again, all at the hands of Steven Crowder, because he thought it would be fun to just make fun of somebody's sexuality for months.
Isn't it amazing? They blame Crowder for this. What an idiot.
He's being punished, but so are so many of these other people.
Yes, that's what happens when you allow censorship, dumbass.
And it's because of the way this platform operates.
Yes,
And
because they don't believe in free speech. That's the problem. R. Nicole says the liberals and conservatives can't play nice, so YouTube is taking the money candy away. It looks like that's possible, and just watching their reaction, this is yet another lefty. A TYT video we watched previously was the same thing. It's like they're kind of realizing that. Oh, no, wait, we're not going to be treated special by YouTube?
Fortunately, we can't fix the platform. We can only change how we support progressive media. You know, we said this back in the Air America days. We said it back in the Go Left days. We said it during the Ring of Fire radio days. And we're saying it again now. If you want progressive media to survive, it's up to you to help keep it alive.
Okay, well, I'll pass. So good luck. Let me know what you do. All right, let's move on. This is the Joy Reid Show. We have a couple left. This is Joy Reid talking with Lawrence Tribe. And I think what they're describing here is some sort of like, what's the word, like usurping, not the government, but usurping Congress and just taking it over and doing whatever the fuck they want. It's nuts.
If he were any other person in the United States, based on what's documented in that report, he would be carried out in handcuffs.
That's not true. That's not true, Pocahontas.
This matters for our democracy, not just now, but under the next president and the next president and the next president. We have a constitutional responsibility here, and that's to start those impeachment proceedings.
Welcome back to AM Joy. Well, Senator Elizabeth Warren, the first presidential candidate to call for the start of impeachment proceedings against Donald Trump, remains one of the most outspoken Democrats on the subject, putting her at odds with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who, as Politico first reported, said she wants to see Trump in prison, but not impeached. One of the main reasons Speaker Pelosi and other Democrats are wary of impeachment is the belief that a Republican-controlled Senate would either just acquit Trump or Mitch McConnell might simply refuse to hold the trial at all. But what if that didn't matter? What if the House could do it on their own? That is the intriguing...
That's insane. It's not possible. It's not possible. What do you mean? What if they could do it on their own? This is fantasy world bullshit. What do you mean? Like, what? And again, Lawrence Tribe, like, how is this possible? You're taking him serious. Holy shit, man.
Idea constitutional scholar Lawrence Tribe posed in a Washington Post op-ed this week that's getting a lot of attention.
This would be like, okay, we're probably going to lose the election, but what if that didn't matter? What if we just didn't have the election and we just put whoever we wanted in place?
And Professor Lawrence Tribe, professor of constitutional law at Harvard, joins me now. He's the author of To End a Presidency, The Power of Impeachment, an apropos tome for the Times. All right, Professor Tribe, explain how the House might be able to act if the Senate refused to take up and start an impeachment trial, or would otherwise simply build in an acquittal.
Nothing. The answer to this question is nothing, outside of some sort of revolution or taking over of the government.
Joy is fairly straightforward, and it's done it before. It could hold factual hearings and reach factual conclusions, the way the Judiciary Committee did when it concluded that Richard Nixon had committed impeachable offenses, and they were enumerated. It wasn't just like an indictment. An indictment is basically...
Yo, this dude, like, again, this is the second time. Get this guy a glass of water. Nils on Streamlabs says, even Democrat voters who don't like Crowder are getting fed up with the censorship and think he's being treated unfairly. In defense of Tim's fence sitting, if they go after people like him, they're going to find their support diminish rapidly. Yeah, another good example you could use is New York Times going after Phil DeFranco. A lot of these people have large audiences, and the audience, we're past the point of like DeFranco's audience or any of these larger YouTubers taking the New York Times side in all this. That ain't gonna happen. That is not. There's no way that happens. So yeah, they're just the New York Times and all these corporate media outlets, CNET, all these fuckers. They're just turning more and more people against them. And that's like the good part of it. They can't win. They can just do a lot of damage on the way out. That's basically what the bottom line is. I think the conclusion is predetermined. They're going to die, but they can do a lot of damage on the way out. Kamibot 5000 says, "What if we didn't have laws? Fucking retards." Yeah, that's basically what this is. Yeah, what if reality didn't exist? Marl Kark says, "Harambe seems darker today." I think she's on a special location. She's not in studio for some reason. I don't know why.
An accusation referring to somebody else for trial. But the House of Representatives is quite capable of reaching a verdict and not just an indictment. And that's what I've proposed it should do. Now, in the process of the hearings, the House might educate the public, and finally, Mitch McConnell might give in, and the whole thing might go in a direction that Nancy Pelosi, I think, quite rightly says is not very likely. But who's afraid of the big bad turtle here? We don't have to worry about what McConnell is going to do, what the Senate will do. In the case of John Adams, for example, in 1800, there was a big controversy over the fact that he extradited an American citizen to Britain for having engaged in mutiny on a British warship. There was a lot of debate in the House. They weren't ready to impeach him, maybe in part because they didn't think the Senate would convict. But they were ready to debate whether the House could condemn him, could find that he had violated the rights of an American citizen. There was a big debate on whether the House has the power to condemn or censure and reach its own verdict. And in that debate, the winning side was, yes, the House has this authority. Now, in that case, by a vote of about 64 to 30 or something, they decided that Adams did not deserve to be censured or condemned. But my sense is that after a full hearing, where the president and his lawyers would be invited to make a presentation, of course, they would say no thanks, but they would have a full opportunity, and it would be a kind of trial, not exactly a trial. It is only the Senate that has the power to try impeachment.
So they're not authorized to have a trial, but they're going to basically have one anyway. That's what he's saying. It'll be interesting if they go along with this. I don't think this is going to happen. Could you imagine? First of all, you're giving the amount of ammunition you're giving Republicans. If the Democrats tried to have these,
and where is not very likely. But who's afraid of the big bad turtle here? We don't have to worry about what McConnell is going to do, what the Senate will do. In the case of John Adams, for example, in 1800, there was a big controversy over the fact that he extradited an American citizen to Britain for having a lot part because they didn't think the Senate would. They weren't ready to impeach him, maybe in part because they didn't think the Senate would convict. But they were ready to debate whether the House could condemn him, could find that he had violated the rights of an American citizen. There was a big debate on whether the House has the power to condemn or censure and reach its own verdict. And in that debate, the winning side was, yes, the House has this authority. Now, in that case, by a vote of about 64 to 30 or something, they decided that Adams did not deserve to be censured or condemned. But my sense is that after a full hearing, where the president and his lawyers would be invited to make a presentation, of course, they would say no thanks, but they would have a full opportunity, and it would be a kind of trial, not exactly a trial. It is only the Senate that has the power to try impeachment.
So they're not authorized to have a trial, but they're going to basically have one anyway. That's what he's saying.
Not exactly a trial. Full opportunity, and it would be a kind of trial, not exactly. Would be invited to make a presentation. Of course, they would say no thanks, but they would have a full opportunity, and it would be a kind of trial, not exactly a trial. It is only the Senate that has the power to try impeachment.
So they're not authorized to have a trial, but they're going to basically have one anyway. That's what he's saying. It'll be interesting if they go along with this. I don't think this is going to happen. Could you imagine? First of all, you're giving the amount of ammunition you're giving Republicans. if the Democrats tried to have their own trial when they're not allowed to? Are you kidding me with this? They wouldn't have a trial. They would have a kind of a trial. What the fuck does that mean? Clown World Order. It's like you're married and you're banging the babysitter, and your wife comes in and she's like, "Oh, you're fucking the babysitter." I'm like, "I'm not fucking the babysitter. I'm kind of fucking the babysitter." Clown World Order says on an uncensored super chat says, "Yes, Air America TYT lefty content is shit, and you can't compete. Now you want to cry because your fascist hug box is backfiring on you. So I guess you can cry more, Farron. I suggest you try bleach." Yeah. It's a bit of an unexpected blowback for them that they might get caught up in this, because it's an unmanageable situation. It has to be done with algorithms. So if you cover controversial news or whatever, you're going to be gone. And I have no. If someone is on YouTube and they argue, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, if they say this is wrong, no one should be censored, and then they get censored, I'm gonna disagree with that, and I'm gonna have empathy for that person. But a person who is a piece of shit and argues that only their opponents should be censored and they shouldn't dare be censored, and then a fucker like that gets censored, I'm laughing. Jason Ogden says YouTube TV trying to steal back eyes, calculated misstep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, do they think people are going to watch shit like this and then be like, "Oh well, guess it's back to Colbert"? I don't think they're going to do that. I think that people are going to. I think people. It depends. Some people will follow the creators where they go. Other people will just find other shit on YouTube, and it takes a while for them to like eliminate everything. So I think some people will kind of stay on and just like look for other shit. But I don't think they could put as much corporate media stuff as they want on YouTube. I just don't think people want that shit anymore. It sucks. It's not entertaining. It's garbage. It's not even like good. Willie says Clinton did the fucking the babysitter and the wife came in. That's true. No, I'm thinking of Factor. I don't think Hillary came in on that one. So the babysitter one. I don't know a specific story, but if you told me that happened, I really wouldn't be shocked. Monica Lewinsky, that's what I was thinking. But she wasn't a babysitter. She was a intern or something.
But you don't have to be afraid of what the Senate would do. If the Senate is in the president's hip pocket, then you can simply stiff the Senate and say, we find that the president committed high crimes and misdemeanors, but we're not going to do you the favor of tossing you what looks like an indictment so you can shred it in the...
So let me get this straight. You are going to, in front of the entire public, declare the president, with no authority to do so, declare the president committed crimes, and then you're going to tell the Senate, you are not going to try the case, we're not going to let you? What? They just look, Trump deranged. This is Yale. This guy's from Yale or Harvard. This is a Yale or Harvard professor with an insane level of Trump derangement syndrome. That is incoherent.
That is fascinating, because what you're essentially saying is that the House could, in and of itself, would it be the Judiciary Committee that would hold these hearings that would then come to a vote and a conclusion that, in the view of the House, impeachable offenses were committed? Now, number one, would subpoena power apply to that House trial?
Oh, absolutely. The power to issue subpoenas and make people like Don McGahn and Annie McDonald and Hope Hicks and all the others testify would be supercharged by the fact that this was an impeachment inquiry. And there are plenty of precedents in the courts saying that the House power to demand documents and live testimony, which we need here, is at its absolute apex.
He's calling an impeachment inquiry and hearings surrounding that. I think he's calling that a trial, but it isn't a trial. And there's no, like, what, are you going to make a verdict that like, what is the worth of that verdict? I mean, that's like Maxine Waters going on the air and saying the president needs to be impeached. Who takes her serious other than the pussy hat wearers?
When it is looking to the possibility of impeaching a sitting officer, a sitting president. On top of that, the grand jury secrecy rules, Rule 6E that we've heard so much about, have an exception when you're engaged in an impeachment inquiry. So the books would be opened. There would be a transparent public hearing. The public could be finally educated. People who don't have time to read the Mueller report or listen to the over 1,000 federal prosecutors who say that the Mueller report already shows criminal obstruction of justice. It would be really the best way to go. And in fact, the House would be much more than like a grand jury considering an indictment. You know, when a grand jury considers an indictment, there is secrecy. The public doesn't get to see it. The defendant doesn't get to be represented. Well, when the House considered impeachment possibilities against Richard Nixon, he was invited to appear. He chose not to, but he sent his lawyer, James St. Clair. So I would imagine we could see the Trump lawyers making an argument against finding the president guilty of taking advantage of a foreign power and doing a lot of other things that are well beyond the reach of the Mueller report. The kind of thing that the Southern District of New York called him an unindicted co-conspirator for. There are ample grounds to remove this president, but if the Senate won't do its duty, that doesn't mean that the House shouldn't do its duty. The House, after all, is an independent body. It is the people's house. It really should stand up to its duty under the Constitution. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to your point, there were just a parade of witnesses that one
I think.
could imagine calling. You just mentioned the Stormy Daniels situation. She could be called.
So you're gonna have this circus trial, and you're gonna call Stormy Daniels? Oh God, this is gonna be amazing. You're gonna call Stormy Daniels. It's gonna be Titty Day. We're gonna have Titty Day with the hearings. Oh my God.
Amazing.
Lawyers that she used to negotiate that deal, Michael Cohen.
Right.
Here's another potential witness in such
Bring in Michael Cohen from prison. That'll go great. I'm sure you'll win the optics war.
a trial. This is one John Dowd, Donald Trump's former lawyer. Here's a voicemail that he left in November of 2017. And this call was with Robert Kellner, who was the attorney for General Michael Flynn, who was imminently going to cooperate with the Mueller probe. Listen to this.
If, on the other hand, there's information that implicates the president, then we've got a national security issue, or maybe a national security issue, I don't know. Some issue we've got to deal with, not only for the president, but for the country. So, then we need some kind of heads up. Just for the sake of protecting all interests if we can.
And what you had here was...
Okay, they completely omit like half of that. The part where he said, like, we understand that you're cooperating and that to make sure they don't give up any information or whatever, any privileged information. Of course, they always omit that part.
Mr. Dowd apparently being really angry that the Michael Flynn team would no longer share information with the Trump team.
Bullshit.
And there seemed to be dangling something that, we're going to tell the president that you're no longer with him. Could someone...
He didn't say that. See, every person that reports on this in the corporate media, they play it. Sometimes the whole thing, sometimes half of it, and then they always add something on there. Because they have to, because there's nothing there. So they have to add something on.
Like Dowd be called before that kind of inquiry, what you're describing in the House?
Absolutely. And when I listened to that, I thought if James Gandolfini hadn't passed away, that might have been Tony Soprano.
Oh, what a coincidence. Every single person that talks about this in corporate media makes a mob reference. Oh, that's totally organic.
Guys could be called. There's no defense. It would not be protected by executive privilege. Lots of normal privileges don't apply anyway when you're engaged in an inquiry of the highest significance. It was called a grand inquest of the House. This is the kind of inquest that's needed. So, although I respect Nancy Pelosi as a woman, as a politician, as a leader, I think that she's got the Constitution a little bit wrong here. She is assuming that launching an impeachment inquiry, which is surely the duty of the House, if this person should not be at least investigated for impeachable offenses, then the
He was just investigated for 2 years. Oh, my God.
impeachment power is ripped out of the Constitution. But she's assuming that launching an impeachment inquiry puts you on a collision course with the stone wall represented by McConnell and the GOP in the Senate. It doesn't.
It absolutely does. You have no chance. It's not going to happen.
If the Senate continues to shirk its duty and say, case closed, the House can say, it's not closed at all. We are reaching our own conclusion after a full and fair hearing. We find that Donald J. Trump has committed the following serious criminal
And the Senate's going to go, cool. All right. Anyway, next order of business.
offenses, the following high crimes and misdemeanors. You know, it's possible they'd acquit him. They shouldn't decide before they have the inquiry.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a
The
fair
likelihood is
trial.
he'd be convicted, and there'd be a negative verdict, and he would carry it around his neck as a kind of, you know, his forehead would be stamped with a scarlet eye.
Yeah, pussy hat wearers would look at it at like a scarlet letter, and everyone else would look at it like a seal of approval.
He would bear the mark of Cain when he goes into the election. I think it's a silly
That would be the mark of the people. Are you
prospect to
kidding me?
say that he would be strengthened. He would claim vindication.
Good, do it. See what
He
happens.
could always claim vindication. That's his style. But the American people are not as stupid as he seems to think. They are not. And they need to be educated by
Yeah,
an
they're not as stupid as you think they are, mother.
impeachment inquiry that could be begun and ended in the House of Representatives. Simply a mistake to think that the Senate is an indispensable part of that process.
And let me ask you this final question, Professor Tribe, because this is the one that Democrats ask the most who are pushing back on what you've just said. They will say, what's the point of impeaching Donald Trump if he is not actually removed? That if he's not removed from office, what's the point?
Well, the point is to do your constitutional duty, to set the record straight for history, to mark him with that scarlet eye. He would then probably be rejected by the American people in an election.
But you'll see.
When, you know, there have been a
You will
number
see.
of censures of presidents or near censures. Buchanan was actually censured by the House. No one who has been the subject of serious censure efforts has ever been reelected to the presidency.
Yes, but you have never experienced the time. There's never been a time in the history of this country where opinions were so low about Congress and the media. I think you can try it, but I think it'll be a badge of honor. Sai Brav says, I guarantee this guy is a Marxist POS. There's a lot of them at the colleges, so I wouldn't be surprised. Pathologian says, these people are so tiring to listen to. They have nothing, and it's pathetic. HB, on the other hand, you have 5 new shiny bucks. Cheers. Thank you, Pathologian. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, one more video, and then we're done. This is just ironic here. Nancy Pelosi. Strange. Nancy Pelosi has been arguing that they shouldn't impeach, or, you know, it's like a very divisive issue and all this bullshit. And now, suddenly, she's like, no, I want to see Trump put in prison. This is where they are. They want to lock him up, basically.
With the House Democrats.
And of course, they're going to argue it's okay for them to do it, but when Trump does it with Hillary Clinton, where you actually have crimes, well, then it's a different story.
Democrats on offense, hitting hard against the Trump team's efforts of what they call stonewalling these open obstruction probes, plus the new release of a voicemail that reveals Donald Trump's own lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, trying to get a heads up on whether Michael Flynn had, quote, evidence that would implicate the president. Now, Democrats are pressing ahead on their aggressive plans in all of this as they face what they call the stonewalling, because they're going to hold both Attorney General Barr and former White House counsel Don McGahn in contempt. And that's not all. There's this new report here that they're going to grant other committee chairs the power to go to federal court to enforce any subpoenas. That could be the Mueller report, it could be evidence from Barr, it could be future subpoenas. So it's another way that we're seeing the escalation of this interbranch war, even as there's a larger question over whether the impeachment questions, the impeachment debate is winding up or winding down. Now here's a clip, also new. Speaker Pelosi, she's dialing up her rhetoric, telling senior Democrats that while she may not be for impeachment now, she wants to see Donald Trump in prison. Pelosi showing that.
By the way, did you see her talking to the press about Normandy? There were clips going around on Twitter, and they weren't like edited together or anything. They were like solid long clips. Yeah, she's fucking out of her mind. Mr. Roman says all Democrats in Congress are dumpster cocksuckers. Seems to be the case. That seems to be the case. William Boyette. I hope all these lies and worthless Democrat-led House that has done nothing but attack Trump changes a lot of Dems voters' minds. That would be great. A landslide would be amazing. Assault would be, I mean, just an outright rejection of their bullshit. The salt would be incredible.
It's unlikely that impeachment is coming anytime soon. She is the House Speaker. She controls whether that would become real. She wants Democrats to focus on some sort of longer-term alternative. You have the Justice Department policy that you cannot indict a sitting president. We've heard a lot about that. That's also being contested. 2020 Dems are running against that. And then, separate from whether they repeal that policy, if a Democrat does defeat Trump, what you have here is the Speaker of the House openly suggesting that after his presidency, maybe he should be prosecuted, maybe he should be jailed. That is tough talk. Trump responding in kind on a Fox News interview. This was part of the war cemetery discussion, part of the Normandy 75th that we've been covering today. Take a look at this.
Nancy Pelosi, I call her Nervous Nancy. Nancy Pelosi doesn't talk about her. Nancy Pelosi's a disaster, okay? She's a disaster. And let her do what she wants. You know what? I think they're in big trouble.
Of course, if the Democrats are in big trouble, that raises the question of why the Trump administration and the White House are stonewalling in the first place. Why not just get this over with and provide the witnesses? Now, in the Mueller report, you have evidence of potential parts of obstruction. And you have, as we reported previously, the discussion of what Trump's lawyer said when dealing with former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's lawyer. Now, this was in a very stressful, hot time. November 2017, reports were out that Flynn was going to leave his joint defense agreement and make a deal with Mueller. Now, today, for the very first time, that voicemail is out. Now, we knew about this because it's part of Mueller's evidence. Now you can hear it for the very first time.
Hey, Rob. This is John again. Maybe I'm sympathetic. I understand your situation, but let me see if I can't state it in stronger terms. It wouldn't surprise me if you've gone on to make a deal with, and work with the government. If, on the other hand, with information that implicates the president, then we've got a national security issue. We need some kind of heads up. Remember what we've always said about the president when he's feeling toward.
All right, I'm getting the transcript. This was even more edited than the other one. Just real quick, John.
Are you Jewish?
Oh,
You want to check my penis?
that's the soundboard.
Best wood chipper money
Hold
can
on.
buy.
John Down transcript.
Ching-chong penguin!
Soundboard, excuse me. All right, here we go. Here's the full transcript because they're editing the shit out of it. Okay, what the fuck is this site? I keep clicking on, there's nothing there. Okay, here we go. Okay. Hey, Rob, it's John again. Maybe I'm sympathetic. I understand your situation. Let me see if I can't state in starker terms. If you have, and it wouldn't surprise me if you've gone on to make a deal and work with the government, I understand that you can't join the joint defense. That part was omitted. I understand that you can't join the joint defense. So that's one thing. If, on the other hand, there's information that implicates the president, then we've got a national security issue, or maybe a national security issue. I don't know, some issue we got to deal with, not only for the president, but for the country. So we need some kind of heads up just for the sake of protecting all our interests if we can, without you having to give up any confidential information. Nice try, motherfuckers. Nice try.
No, that still remains.
What a joke.
I'm joined by the Center for American
Fucking
Progress Action
unbelievable.
Fund's Juanita Tolliver, Daily Beast Margaret Carlson, and TheRoot.com's Jason Johnson.
Oh, the Black Daily
Good evening to
Star
all
guy.
of you. Margaret, you've been covering a lot of these different characters over the years. Rarely do you get that kind of a private recording. What do you read from it? What do you hear in the atmosphere? As I mentioned, we knew the outlines from the report.
We did, but hearing it like that, it's chilling. It sounds like something that could be in The Sopranos.
Oh, wow, what a totally organic coincidence. Another reference to The Sopranos on corporate media. Wow. AHNCO Had No Cattle Uncensored Super Chat says, the videos from the TYT Iowa rally are up. 3 nobodies spoke for a combined 35 minutes Well, Cenk rambled on and on for an hour and a half. Tomorrow they run in to Democrat candidates in Des Moines. Yeah, I saw some of it. I think they got about 300 to 500 people in a small gym, or in a small middle school gym. So I don't. This whole idea that this was going to be a giant revolution and they needed an army. Now that's from what Cenk said. Cenk said there was 500 people there. I don't know if that's true. If you listen to the crowd, it's very echoey. It doesn't sound like a large crowd. I wonder if there's going to be footage of the actual crowd. But the max it could be is 500. And yeah, it's total bullshit. Total bullshit. Gothic says, what the heck does that mean? You impeach or you fail. You can't half-ass it and then claim victory. Yeah, like what are they going to do? They're going to make a ruling that they're not authorized to and then say, and therefore, what? Like, don't vote for him? That'll be a laughing stock. Mr. Roman says, check your penis. What the fuck, HB? LOL. Check your penis? Oh yeah, no, that was the soundboard. It was the Larry David.
Are you Jewish? You want to check my penis?
It was that, okay.
The outlines from the report.
We did, but hearing it like that, it's chilling. It sounds like something that could be in The Sopranos.
Did they just read? I must have gotten re-put together.
Where you say, you were our friend, but might not be our friend anymore, and it would create a national security issue. The whole, all of the times that.
When did he say you were our friend and you're not our friend anymore? When did he say that? He didn't say that. Again, they always have to add something.
The White House has tried to dangle favors, pardons, anything to keep people silent. It's a disgrace. And now they're doing it by ignoring subpoenas and forcing Democrats in this case, and I don't think they need to do it through impeachment. I think the tools that Democrats need are available to them by other means, through the Judiciary Committee, through oversight committees, to use the contempt method if they don't, if that's how they have to enforce the subpoenas against people who are really not under Trump's control anymore. Don McCann had his heroic moment as you're reading the Mueller report, and I assume he would testify, but he's been intimidated by Trump into not testifying. The same with Hope Hicks. So we have to hope there's a branch of government left. The Senate is amoral, not going to do anything. Don't count on them. They're never going to impeach. But that the judicial branch, there are judges who will still do the right thing.
Wanting to take a listen to Senator Warren.
Donald Trump, as president, delayed, deflected, moved, fired, and did everything he could to obstruct justice. If he were any other person in the United States, based on what's documented in that report, he would be carried out in handcuffs.
Is
there ever a person in the history of a court case where, well, it doesn't even make a court case and the prosecutors are like, yeah, we're not going to prosecute, and then they go ahead and lead the guy away in handcuffs? Has that ever happened to anyone?
New Democratic message, instead of them actually doing what one would do if you thought someone should be carried out in handcuffs, which is go forward with the congressional remedies. Senator Warren is at least consistent because she has come out for impeachment. If Nancy Pelosi believes this is criminal conduct justifying jail, then doesn't it justify an impeachment probe?
Well, I think what Nancy Pelosi's strategy here is ultimately, let's be strategic, let's get it right the first time, because once you open that floodgate with impeachment proceedings, there is no taking it back. And what Pelosi is fully aware of is that, sure, there might be success in the House, but the Senate is a graveyard, as we've seen for any bit of positive legislation that House Democrats have put up. Mitch McConnell has made it very clear they're all DOA. The other thing about Senator Warren's statement that really springs true is no one is above the law, and that includes President Trump.
So let me
even though he is obstructing. Yeah.
Let me press you on that, because you're in Washington, you're dialed in. I'm not saying Cap is the same as Speaker Pelosi. We'll invite her on as well. But as you articulate some of the analysis of the rationale, doesn't the counter argument become, is this the Democrats' version of lock her up? I mean, there was a judicial legal process. We've covered it extensively. It did not result in an indictment, whether you like it or not.
Shocking. That's a shocking pushback from Ari Melber. He's usually a total cuck.
The next step would be
I mean, he's not going to push back on any of their bullshit answers, but he's at least asking the question.
Congress want to deal with it. And if the Speaker doesn't want to go that route, she has every right to explain that. But if she doesn't want to go that route and then she is making prison-esque, jail-esque references, does she risk, I ask for your analysis, does she risk getting close to a lock-her-up kind of frame where you're using the impugning of criminal conduct without actually responsibly dealing with the evidence?
Well, I think going back to what you said about whether or not she wants to deal with it, I think she is dealing with it. I think she's just not moving as quickly as some would want, because she's outlined that the premises in which and the conditions in which she would like to move forward is with, one, a lot more buy-in from the general public and awareness, and two, some bipartisan support. So I think she's dealing with it as they ramp up committee chairmen and women's ability to file suits against people who and hold people in contempt of Congress who choose to not appear and abide by subpoenas. So it's being handled. It's just not being handled in a way that I think with the urgency that a lot of people want to see.
Jason, do you see a risk here of this turning into lock him up?
Yes, and it's just as silly, Ari, as lock him up, because it's also a chant that they're not willing to go through with. Everybody knows that Donald Trump really wasn't going to try and lock up Hillary Clinton, and essentially...
We're going to have... Well... The question is she going to get locked up? Which I doubt, but... You gotta see how the investigations play out before you argue that there's not at least going to be an attempt. There might be an attempt. Whether it works or not is a whole different story.
What you have Nancy Pelosi saying is, we have a monster here, and you can use holy water and you can use garlic, but don't use the silver bullet. Even though we got him in the chamber, literally in our chamber, the House chamber, we're not going to use the silver bullet. That's at our disposal. It doesn't make any sense, and it makes her leadership sound weak. Look, I'm down here right now. I just saw a speech by Maxine Waters. She led the entire audience in a chant of impeach 45. The base wants to see this process. Nancy Pelosi is
good. Good, give them what they want.
Speaking against her own base and speaking against her own leadership at this point. There is no strategy behind it. It's certainly not one to a lot of...
They are so deranged. They can't even allow for the politicians that might actually have some strategical thinking on it to at least think. Because okay, let's say you want to use impeachment, and you believe you're delusional, but you believe that if the House impeaches Trump, it wins you the election. Let's just say you believe that. Well, you still would want to wait before you go through with the impeachment. You would want that shit to happen right before the election. You shouldn't do it now. It would be crazy to do it now. They are so deranged that they can't even wait for the people in their party to do this shit strategically. They have Trump derangement syndrome that badly.
People agree with.
Juanita, you wanted to get in?
Yeah, I'm saying she's just saying let's not jump to that silver bullet yet. There are still some foundational things that need to happen here, and so she's just moving strategically.
No, that's not strategic. Because
it's absolutely strategic. Oh my God. I mean, I'm not going to defend Nancy Pelosi, but because I don't believe when she says, oh, you know, we shouldn't do it or we need to be careful. She's just setting it up so when they do it, she says, well, I was reasonable. I didn't want to do it, but now I have no choice. They won't even let her do that. It's hilarious.
Well, we're not going to... Yeah, if she says, well, we can't do it until the Senate happens, and we can't do it until we get the public involved, every single logical person who knows anything about history is saying you can't get the public involved until you begin impeachment proceedings. We don't have to go back and repeat the whole Nixon rule again. You can't get the public involved. She is constantly moving the goalposts in ways that don't make sense to anybody. You can still impeach him without him being removed. That's the Senate's problem. And putting them on the line and making Republicans have to say right before an election year, this is why I want to keep a president who is engaging in possibly illegal activities in office. That's the greatest campaign slogan you can have for 2020, and she's denying that to this country.
So you want to impeach him because it would make a good campaign slogan? Oh, they're so transparent.
Hearings that are televised will get public buy-in. The idea...
if the Democrats make a convincing case, they are circus clowns. I doubt they would be able to do that.
But I think those hearings can be done, the Judiciary Committee hearings, Oversight Committee hearings. Look what Trump did with the Mueller report. He exonerated himself. He had the help of William Barr. who's, this is the part of the movie where you find out that the police captain is on the take. So Barr did everything he
Bullshit.
could to help Trump make that case. So the public, or at least a portion of it, thinks that Trump was found innocent by the Mueller report. He said no collusion and I was exonerated. Imagine what he'll do if the Senate relieves him of impeachment. If it doesn't convict him of impeachment, what he will do with that. He will have been a martyr, and he will will declare himself innocent.
That's right.
And that will not help anybody.
Yep.
If you know that that adds, it makes it worse for Democrats going into the election.
Yes.
To have Trump have that in his pocket.
Yeah, that's not going to be in his pocket. He's going to say that no matter what. Donald Trump has been caught doing all sorts of inappropriate activities, and he will still exonerate himself. And if you want
inappropriate activities, is that a statute? It's inappropriate.
I want to talk about the dirty police chief. Here's what we learned from all cop films, right? The Departed.
Oh, yes.
If you
Let's base what we do on movies. That's once again brilliant.
take too long, the hero ends up dead, right? They end up dead at the end of the movie because they weren't aggressive enough when they needed to be. This doesn't have to be about what Donald Trump is. This is about what the constitutional responsibilities are of the House, what the constitutional responsibilities are of the Senate. This sort of tepid nonsense on the part of Democrats, well, we can't do this because Trump is going to flip it another way. Has no one been paying attention to this guy for the last 3 years? He will make up and lie.
I thought what we learned from The
Jason,
Departed. I thought in The Departed we learned that if you have the top floor apartment in the best building in Massachusetts, it doesn't make sense on a cop salary. I'm going to go.
Exactly. There's that too.
As moderator, I'm going to go Juanita and then Margaret, and then we're out of time.
Yeah, I honestly think, with all the Departed analogies aside, there is some value to the fact that the public needs to be bought in here. And I'm talking about, sure, the echo chamber of Twitter is loud. You got progressive folks on the left really pushing here. But Pelosi sees the big picture, and I think we got to stay the course.
So if you can fast forward and see that impeachment only emboldens Trump and makes him stronger, would you still be for impeachment?
It won't do that, so I'm in favor of it.
I'm asking my friend...
Bitch, you just changed her question. What a fucking coward you are.
Jason.
Yeah, it's not going to embolden him because he's emboldened anyway. So you should go ahead with impeachment.
You are
There's
so
more
stupid.
emboldenment in him.
Oh my God,
Look
we're
at him
so
on
close.
D-Day.
I ran out and people followed me.
This is who the
Completely
president's going to
uncouth.
be.
Completely uncouth.
It's completely uncouth when he's asked direct questions by Laura Ingraham. How dare you answer those questions?
Well, I'm going to fit in a break.
Nancy Pelosi says she wants to lock you up. How dare you address that? How dare you? There are dead soldiers here, sir. How dare you?
Because we have so much in this show, what I appreciate is such a fulsome, no-holds-barred exchange of views with people having very different ideas about what to do next on a central constitutional question.
I'm sure there'll be an editorial about how he mansplained her, and there's a whole bunch of bullshit. But that would be funny, because he works for the Black Daily Stormer. The route is ridiculous. All right. Anyway, that is the end of the stream. I will retweet an archive of this on Twitter. The Twitter ID is @hard_bastard. You can go to Facebook.
What's on the YouTubes? What do we got here?
So, folks, you all know who Neera Tanden is, right? So Neera Tanden, she's the head of the so-called liberal think tank, the Center for American Progress, that so-called liberal American think tank that also supports Saudi Arabia, pushes privatized health care, charter schools, and takes millions of dollars from the Sackley family that made billions off the opioid crisis. And of course, before Neera, the Center for American Progress, their chairman was John Podesta. Yes. That's a guy, John Podesta is a guy who the best thing you can say about John Podesta is that he didn't run a child sex ring out of a pizza parlor. That's the best thing you can say about John Podesta.
Glass half full, Jimmy.
So no, I made some videos about Neera Tanden. Now the reason why I did is because she was attacking Julian Assange saying that he was a fascist and he should be in prison. And of course, we found out why she was doing that is because Julian Assange exposed her for being one of the worst warmongers around, right? Because what she wanted to do, I'll show you what she wanted to do. This is, it says that we have a giant deficit. They have a lot of oil, meaning Libya. She says most Americans would choose not to engage in the world because of that deficit. If we want to continue to engage in the world, gestures like having oil-rich countries partially pay us back. So what she's saying is, let's steal their oil, right, in Libya, so we can do more foreign wars. Because people at home are getting pissed off that we're not giving them social programs, but we're doing all these foreign wars. And she says, if we want to, some people would choose not to engage in the world because of that deficit. And if we want to continue to engage in the world, meaning bombing the shit out of people, we got to start stealing their natural resources in a more efficient way. That's what she's saying. So Julian Assange revealed that. I did a video about it. And so here's what she said. She did this. Important thread. Jimmy Dore has created multiple videos to attack me. She says, I ignore them, but they can be both vicious and ludicrous. So when you're ignoring them, are you watching them? And then do you ignore them after you tweet about them? Or after you find them ludicrous? What is it? When do you start ignoring? I don't know when the ignore part comes in. And by the way, important thread, Jimmy Dore has created multiple videos to expose me. I pretend to ignore them, but they can both be accurate and devastating. People at home saying that he was a fascist and he should be in prison. And of course, we found out why she was doing that was because Julian Assange exposed her for being one of the worst warmongers around, right? Because what she wanted to do, I'll show you what she wanted to do. This is, it says that we have a giant deficit. They have a lot of oil, meaning Libya. She says most Americans would choose not to engage in the world because of that deficit. If we want to continue to engage in the world, gestures like having oil-rich countries partially pay us back. So what she's saying is, let's steal their oil, right, in Libya, so we can do more foreign wars. Because people at home are getting pissed off that we're not giving them social programs, but we're doing all these foreign wars. And she says, if we want to, some people would choose not to engage in the world because of that deficit. And if we want to continue to engage in the world, meaning bombing the shit out of people, we got to start stealing their natural resources in a more efficient way. That's what she's saying. So Julian Assange revealed that. I did a video about it. And so here's what she said. She did this. Important thread. Jimmy Dore has created multiple videos to attack me. Jimmy Dore has created multiple videos to attack me.
Oh, shit.
She says, I ignore them, but they can be both vicious and ludicrous. So when you're ignoring them, are you watching them? And then do you ignore them after you tweet about them? Or after you find them ludicrous? What is it? When do you start ignoring? I don't know when the ignore part comes in. And by the way, important thread, Jimmy Dore has created multiple videos to expose me. I pretend to ignore them, but they can both be accurate and devastating. So, I don't know if you saw the thread that she linked to trying to smear me. The thread was by this guy, Steven Crowder, right? Well, it's Carlos Maza. He's from Vox, and he does these videos online. And then the Steven Crowder, who's a right-wing comedian, he makes fun of him, but he does it in he also makes fun of him in a homophobic way.
You're a left-wing comedian.
Right, which is not good. And, but, you know, that happens. People, you know, CNN makes fun of me saying that I'm a conspiracy theorist, and they try to fucking wreck my reputation and take my show away. It happens, right? It's not some jagoff right-winger. This is real. So she's trying to equate me with a racist homophobe because I had accurate criticisms of her war policy. That's a little fucked up. I'll throw it over to my panel. What do you think?
Well, that's where it starts, is the Steven Crowder stuff, but then you realize that YouTube is taking it much further, and they're actually demonetizing.
Abby Martin, your takes are really bad, and you should just shut up.
And they actually challenged, they said anyone who interprets violent events that have been documented at length, anyone who interprets those differently than the established narrative, they're just going to remove the videos and possibly take down.
So we're going to get
accounts.
to that. Yeah, that is true. We're going to, they said if you
She, like, kind of, they're like a script ahead of time. Never mind.
do a video that denies a major violent event, like if you deny the Holocaust or something, they're going to take your, but they also mean, like if I say, hey, that gas attack didn't happen in Syria, that was a hoax, they'll also take that video down. That's what they mean. So if you go against the establishment news narrative, like if I said WMDs that was bullshit, they would take that video down. If I said Libyan war was bull, they would take that down. So that's what, so I told you before, all this Russiagate stuff, and anybody who pushed it on the left was a moron because they always use this to come after people who are pushing back against the state and the establishment, which is exactly what they're gonna do now. Right? And they've been doing it, by the way. They already deplatformed 800 lefty sites, the Cop Watch and stuff like that. And they always demonetize any of my videos when I talk about Syria or I talk about war in the right way. And so it's just weird that she, because I just want to, we're going to talk more about that, but I just want to show you this. Here's Neera Tanden, and here's what a lightweight she is. She can get destroyed and dismantled by Chris Cuomo, ladies and gentlemen.
He's got great teeth, though. Have you seen his teeth?
And he's very tall. He's like 6'3". So, and how do I know that? Because he tells people. Anyway, so that's why. So he's going to ask her about, in their emails, Neera Tanden was caught saying Hillary Clinton is horrible and what the fuck, right? And he asks her about this. Watch her try to weasel out of it.
Specifically, one of the ones that you wrote, put up the email. Her inability to just do a national interview and communicate genuine feelings of remorse and regret is now, I fear, becoming a character problem. Now, this is interesting to hear that inside, you guys were having the same discussion that people were having outside. So, what happened when you said these things to Podesta and others? Where did you guys come to a conclusion about why Clinton had such a hard time just owning that she did something wrong with the email server?
You know, I know that Russia and other forces would love us to have a debate. This is exactly what they want. They want us to have a debate about the internal structure of Hillary's campaign, what's true, what's not true. And I'm just not going to play that. I'm sorry. The reality here is that, as Marco Rubio said, we have a Russian government, the Russian government, a foreign government, trying to essentially impact this election.
But Neera,
and I'm sorry, Chris, using the American media to do that. And
Neera,
so
Oh God, turn it off.
I'm sorry, Chris. All I would just want to say is right now that I'm totally sorry, but you're getting this all wrong. As Marco Rubio said, I'm sorry.
But Neera, so you're saying, I'm sorry, Neera, you're saying that Russia wrote your email? Is that what you're saying?
Chris, I am sorry that you're, Chris, I'm sorry, but you know, I'm sorry, but Russia did some stuff.
But how can you cannot answer your own email that is in writing?
You're dumb.
I love how she cites Marco Rubio, too, as like a source of, you know, she's like, as Marco Rubio clearly stated.
Oh, Marco Rubio said it? Then it's true. Okay.
I think it's
don't tell
always
me
important.
Don't tell me Louis Gohmert said it too, because that'll be. So let's listen to watch Chris Cuomo pushes back.
She got fresh
any
Botox.
email I sent was personal from my personal account to someone else's personal account. I'm not on the campaign. I was an informal outside advisor with my own thoughts. And so, honestly, I'm just telling you right now, Chris, that the reality of this is that I think Marco Rubio is right about this, that people should not be using this as weaponizing the emails or
Mira, if this
personal
email
emails of
were
anyone
from
and sending.
Kelly Conway to Dave Fossey, you would be giving me all your deepest thoughts about it right now. You don't like
Chris,
it because it's your email. You're ducking
Chris,
it. You're not having high ground.
Chris, stop pointing out the bullshit that I'm saying. Stop pointing out facts, Chris.
Chris, it's very sexist to point this out, and just ask Marco.
Marco gave me this necklace.
Let's see what he says.
Chris, that's absolutely false. I actually would not be doing that. And you can.
What he says.
Chris, that's absolutely false. I actually would not be doing that. And you can see in other areas and where emails have been used on any other issue, I've taken the same position.
Well, when his taxes came out, the Clinton campaign couldn't stop talking about them, right? Those were leaked.
Was that
right? Technically, that.
Oh yeah, actually, that is a really important point, Chris. I agree with you. These emails were not leaked. They were stolen.
I'm saying, what's the difference how they come out? That's a separate issue. The emails say what they say.
Leaked. You just said leaked.
Yeah, I know. I'll say it
you.
again. Leaked. But what I'm
They
saying
weren't
is.
leaked.
You just said leaked. You just said leaked.
It makes me think of pee-pee.
You said leaked. You said doo-doo.
You said...
That's what you just said, doo-doo.
You said dookie. He almost said it.
Someone put her voice on double speed. I can't handle it anymore. It's too...
What's your manner? Don't you like talking through your nose? All you have to do is talk through your nose as if you don't even have a tongue.
This is
It's nice. It's what I go to annoying school before I came on shoot. I went to annoying. Hey, are you going on TV? I can teach you how to be annoying. You said leaked.
Here we go. I bet this gets demonetized and I lose my show for this. Because I'm attacking her.
It is not a separate issue. How this happened was a foreign government. And you don't listen to me. Listen to Marco Rubio.
Jesus
No! God damn it, no!
Marco Rubio is really important.
Oh my God, she's driving me crazy.
That's a Democrat, the head of a Democrat think tank telling you to listen to Marco Rubio.
Hey, listen to Sarah Palin. Listen to her. Listen to Sarah Palin and Kellyanne Conway.
You should listen to Ted Cruz. He's got good ideas.
Listen to one of Mitch McConnell's chins. They're very accurate.
Ivanka's interesting. I like her ideas.
Listen to them.
Here we go. I think there's more to this.
I understand that they were hacked, Nira, but you have to understand, to not just to me, but to the outside, your emails are what they are. Now, if you say, I never said this, that's something different. If you say, this isn't me, I didn't write that, then that's a legitimate basis. But otherwise, it just seems like you're ducking it because you don't want to own what you said.
I'm not.
Chris. Let's see what she says.
Marco, come out here and defend me.
Hey, here we go.
I'm not owning it. I'm saying that we shouldn't really be dealing with people's private emails. This is, I think, an issue of privacy. I agree with a lot of people who've made this point on both sides of the aisle.
Okay, there you go. So that's Nira Tanden. She's very easy to make fun of, ladies and gentlemen. And she's a horrible person, and she's a warmongering maniac, which is why I make videos about her. And she's very powerful, and she's a very powerful person. She's the head of the Center for American Progress. She knows the Clintons. She knows all the people who run. She's friends with Steve Schmidt, the head of Google. She's friends with everybody who's powerful. So she's not a victim. And so for her to tweet that out with saying Jimmy Dore does what this guy does and what that guy was doing homophobic, racist slurs against another guy, that's not what I do. What I do is I make fun of you for your policy. I don't make fun of you for how you were born, okay? Nira Tanden, you weren't born a corporatist, warmongering piece of shit. You chose to be that.
Jimmy. That's my identity.
Marco Rubio made me do that, so... So that's why I do videos about her, and that is the big difference, all right?
the Center of American Progress just equated me doing accurate criticism of her war policy with being a homophobic racist. So that's the kind of smear bullshit she does. It's ironic. She linked to a thread on Twitter of
a guide to the insider's language of YouTube gamers. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious. And today on our wonderful CNET.com. Culture. The world of gaming YouTube has its own language. Here's a dictionary to help you understand what they're really saying. By our favorite local supervillain, Ian Shear. Oh, this is gonna be good. I can already tell that this is gonna be fantastic. Okay, so
they don't misrepresent what like Pog is and Twitch emotes.
What? This picture doesn't even make sense. Is it coming out of the TV? Like, is it delivering free technology? Is it trying to take the technology into the TV? Is this about? It doesn't add up. Look at that shadow. What? All right, let's check out the article. All right, this is gonna be hilarious. I can already tell. YouTube is filled with game commentators who use their own slang to describe their perceived enemies. Some of the language comes straight out of the right-wingers of an alternative variety. Why am I not surprised? Of course, just label your enemies all the same thing. You know, when you say that everyone is a bad right-winger, no one is. A loose group of white supremes and neo-Nazis. Here's the guide to what you might encounter. So this is the same guy that wrote that ridiculous article, Meet the Angry Gamers Who Turn Outrage into Views. And you know that hit piece by journalists? And let's see what let's see how advanced their understanding actually is. I know I'm gonna laugh. Paid DLC. Downloadable content for video games became popular as a way of delivering new storylines and features to popular games. Some gamers believe DLC is actually part of the original game they paid $60 for, but was split off to be sold later. And they're completely right. Have we literally forgotten about the locked content on CDs? In many cases, they've literally released a game with the DLC being on the disc, but you have to buy the DLC, you know, quote unquote, to unlock the content. Yeah, that happened. And it's not about, oh, DLC, that it's already in the game or anything like that. It's the fact that paid DLC is usually just, it's a cash grab, it's garbage. They won't develop a certain part of the game and then they'll add it later. Like, they plan DLC ahead. You want me to respect that? The DLC should be from the heart. If I had a gaming company and I decided to make a DLC, not only would it be huge and expansive and add a whole new element to the game, I wouldn't plan it ahead. That's ridiculous. Microtransaction, a business strategy of charging players for additional features and items in the game. Some games, like the Battle Royale games of Epic, Fortnite, and Apex Legends from Electronic Arts, are free to download and make money by charging for new cosmetic looks for players, guns, and other items. You know damn well we're not talking about free-to-play games. Games as a service, a game designed to be played over the internet, which are regularly updated with new features and stories. Got any citations for that? Players often log on to get, no, that's not even true. See, this guy's full of it. He shouldn't say updated with new features and stories. It's more like these games are released in an unfinished state, so they have to make up the work after they release it. Yeah. It's very scummy. Players often log on together and partner up to fight one another as they experience the game. Some current games are Bungie's Space Epic Destiny 2, which I heard was garbage, EA's exploration game Anthem, and Bethesda's post-apocalyptic shooting game Fallout 76. Imagine defending Fallout 76. Yeah, this guy's not a gamer. Like, he has no idea what he's talking about. He's just a failed journalist, so he writes for CNET. I don't know anyone who uses this website. Season Pass, a bundle for a video game in which the company offers multiple DLCs, game modes, different items in the game, and more. It's similar to a battle pass, in which gamers receive rewards such as new cosmetic looks and customized items in return for regularly playing the game. Oh yeah, so just compare something that's nice next to something that's just like a business tactic. Every season pass I've ever, and I hate the concept of a season pass. Give me the damn video game. Give me the whole game. Just give me the game. Give me the stuff. I don't want a pass Okay, give me the bundle and give it to me at a discount. That's the main reason that whenever I do buy a game, I don't really play on console anymore. I always get the Game of the Year edition with all the DLCs. I'm not dumb enough to... I will wait. I'll be patient. It's not like I get paid to play video games. You know, I don't got that kind of money. SJW. Short for Social Warrior of a Justice Variety. Someone who advocates on the behalf of women and minorities. No, that's not what it is. It's cultural Marxists LARPing as revolutionaries. They think they're doing the good thing and are on the right side of history, but really they are the villains that everyone will look back on with disgust and contempt. The term came into prominence during #Gamergate. Horrible movement. A 2014 internet phenomena, during which gamers attacked female developers and feminists with threats of struggle snuggling, explosions, and deceasing over their criticism of the video game industry. No, that's not what happened. Wikipedia is run by a leftist, and they'll hijack social media. See, they have a fetish, leftists. They have a fetish for controlling information. So they change the past, they lie, and then they lie some more, and then they lie about their lying, and then when they're confronted about their lies, they say you're lying. Gamergate was about ethics and journalism. It was not about attacking women, about criticizing a woman who slept with game developers to get good reviews on her crappy game that nobody liked. That was a real thing. It happened. She literally used her body to get good reviews. Yet the Gamergate narrative is that it was about attacking women. That was, honestly, that was one of the biggest red pilling moments for me. Ever since Gamergate and I watched the media stories on it, I completely realized, holy crap, right before my eyes, the media is literally lying to people. It's one of the biggest red pills. And there's a lot of people who make fun of Gamergate. Those are the saddest, most despicable and dumb, low IQ people ever. I can't stand them. Ostensibly, the event was about gamers holding reviewers accountable for perceived ethical lapses. Oh, yeah. That was the actual truth. Urinalist? Blending of the words journalist and urinal. I've literally never heard that in my life. Oh, but that's good. That's a good one, man. Urinalist. You're a urinalist. That doesn't even make sense. Soy. A slur insinuating men are... are effeminate, based on the urban legend that drinking soy milk increases estrogen production. It is often used against SJWs. Urban myth, he says. And yet, look how girly this writing it. Who white man? A way of emphasizing the H in white. And I don't know if that's true. Actually, I'm not familiar with that meme. I don't know. So I can't comment on that. Woke. Being aware of injustice in society. That's not what it is. You ignore real injustice, like out in the Middle East, tell men they can't spread their legs on the subway. Yeah, no, it's not being aware of injustice. It's specifically being unaware of reality. We live in a society. People who are woke are often slurred as woke warriors, part of the woke brigade, or a keyboard warrior. When a person or company demonstrates their wokeness, they're often accused of virtue signaling. Yeah, because it's literally true. See, you see how these journalists don't care about the truth? It's not about the truth to them. It's about lies. It's about lying to you to push their narratives. Fake woke points, digital black pats. Positive support for virtue signaling. I've never heard of that. Get woke, go broke. You can't...
That is definitely Jeremy Hamling the quartering. This video was specifically targeting him.
Can't even say it right. It's go woke, go broke, I think. Often said in celebration when a company, game, or publication that had heavy political undertones posts disappointing sales or shutdowns. Sail the high seas. A euphemism for acquiring content through socialism. It's used in part because of the belief that YouTube's automatic captioning will punish videos with references to sharing. Blue check.
Sail the high seas. Euphemism. It's part of belief.
Check marks. A slur. A slur, he says.
A slur? Blue check marks is not a slur.
No, it's not a slur. These people literally think they're a protected class. Like, they think they're better than us, and that they're somehow special because they write words on a page. I'm sorry, but you're not. I would argue that the average journalist is actually worse than the general population. Like, yeah, definitely inferior. A slur against verified Twitter users who have blue check marks by their name. It's usually used to refer to journalists and prominent political figures. The whole point about blue check marks is it's not about being verified, because the only people who get verified at Twitter are an elite special class. They're all liberal. They're all left wing.
Capping tower.
A lot of
I'm
them
capping
are on
it.
the far left.
I'm doing it.
It's to refer to
I'm
them.
capping tower.
Okay? Normal people can't get a blue check.
Oh!
You have to know somebody at Twitter. Like, that's not even it's supposed to be proof that you are who you say you are, but it's not. Ratioed. A measure of social media response to tweet or YouTube video. On Twitter, if the number of comments is higher than the number of likes or retweets, it's believed to have been voted down by the community. On YouTube, it can also refer to receiving more thumbs down votes than thumbs up. White knighting. A man coming to a woman's defense. It's often used disparagingly. No, it's not. You left out the most important part. White knights are cucks who are super, like, they literally kiss the feet of women. And not in a fun way. Because they think that, oh, if I'm just nice enough, she's magically gonna have waterfalls in her pants and want to go out with me. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. Okay? Women like total a-holes. They love them. They absolutely love a man who's a real man. He's gonna smack him around. Tell him who's boss. No, I'm exaggerating a little, but no, seriously. Nothing turns off a woman more than a guy who's kind and sensitive and, you know, like, kisses up to them. They want someone they can depend on. They want someone strong. I'm not saying all women. Some women have their fetishes. I'm just saying. Femi Yahtzee, a term that was once popular to describe a woman who claims to support gender equality, but actually supports sexism towards men. The term was popular in the 1990s, but has since fallen out of vogue. This is your guide to the language of diabolical gamers, the poor oppressed minority. All they wanted to do was play video games, and yet they're being constantly attacked by these little weakling journalists. Of course, there's no comment section, because if there was, they would be obliterated. But that's pretty much the story, folks. The evil guide.
Where's this article? Let's look it up. A guide to back off, sucker. A guide to the insider language YouTube's gamers. Now, what was I gonna do with this again? Like, I had a reason, I forgot. Oh, I was gonna check Gab for the comments. Yeah, let's go check Gab for the comments on that article. we have some Gab comments. What do we got? Back in the closet. Woo! A spicy word. Lol, what a joke. I upvote everyone. Ian gets away with... Bitch learned a code. What happened? I was working on this. This is clearly in response to the quartering. Now, I never want to fucking hear from you guys. Seen it? You guys go die in a dumpster fire. What do we got? What videos we gotta watch? Rogue Fantasy Rearmed. What do we got here?
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from Midwestly. Sorry I'm still over on the quartering set, but this PC is just much faster at processing video, and I have a day job meeting in 20 minutes. I wanted to get this video out to you all. Now, if you've been following everything going on with YouTube the past couple of days, it's been pretty, I don't know, pretty up and down, a whirlwind of confusion. There's a lot of information out there that is hard to understand.
Fuck off, Hunter.
From what I currently gather, is there is a large group of smaller creators that have been caught up in Carlos Maza's, I don't know, outrage mob to because he got his feelings hurt. Many small creators who probably used YouTube for supplementary income, maybe some of them lived full-time off of it, have been removed from the platform because he had his fifis hurt. I'm sorry, Carlos, but this is a man who's been posting his junk online, who talks about hooking his husband up with other dudes because it's quote-unquote good for his marriage. There's all sorts of interesting stuff that's coming out about Carlos Maza now that he has placed himself squarely in the crosshairs of, well, most of YouTube, to be honest. And he's still going today. And he basically wants YouTube to change its policies even more by going on, you can't give these people an inch. They won't stop crying liberal bias until they're allowed to use certain words with impunity. And that's exactly what YouTube is allowing them to do. If you notice that, you know, he's getting a lot less traction, people are already kind of sick of him. Going on, conservatives have spent years arguing that even basic content moderation is a form of censorship. Isn't that funny? You know, I grew up a liberal, and I thought that liberals were the ones that fought for free speech. At some point, it's become a conservative thing. I never would have thought I would have ever seen that day, but I think that's exactly what it is. People in the center, mostly, and people to the right of center are the ones that are fighting for free speech, which is absurd to me. Well, I mean, everyone should agree and fight for it, but the problem is he's trying to goat YouTube now. It's working because YouTube doesn't have the guts to protect its creators. Yeah, okay, well, I like to see people like Ted Cruz, politicians getting involved. They absolutely should be getting involved because Mr. Carlos Maza here is on a righteous mission to deplatform people that say mean things, and in a move that surprised literally nobody, YouTube capitulated. This is what happens every time somebody gets upset who has a blue checkmark by their name. They get a bunch of retweets, and then YouTube purges.
Hey, use the gamer slang we learned from the video.
There's a couple creators, and then that's the pound of flesh these people get. This guy isn't happy, but I'd be willing to bet you that there won't be any more from his crusade. There will be more attempts, and more people will be hurt by this, of course. But you saw yesterday Team YouTube saying, Today has generated a lot of questions and confusion. We know it hasn't been easy for everyone. Going forward, we'll be taking a closer look at our own policies with the aim to update them, our thoughts and plans. Now, if we look at this, as I talked about yesterday in many of both my live stream with Bearing and Count Dankula on the Incredible Salt Mine, as well as on my main channel when I covered this on the quartering, and I'll say it again here. I am fine with YouTube removing like beheading videos or like training videos or recruitment videos for bad groups of people. I don't think most people, I mean, you have free speech absolutists out there, and I do consider myself that, but I also think that I would understand, and the overwhelming majority of people understand, when you remove that type of content. The problem we have is with the slippery slope that YouTube has when they say that your videos have violated some sort of policy, but they never tell you exactly what it is or how to fix it. That's the spot that all these small creators that were banned from the platform are in now. They all received the exact same form letter, essentially vaguely saying that your content is no good, we've removed monetization from your channel, you can reapply in 30 days after you, quote, fix it, but they don't tell these creators anything about what their content is doing that violates any policies. They don't provide any evidence or any information on how to successfully reapply for monetization. Essentially, there is almost no chance these creators will ever be remonetized. And on top of that, I mean, maybe they could delete their entire catalog and start over as a Spider-Man analysis channel. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know because we as creators are always left in the dark. And this blog post does more to do that. There's been a lot of questions the past few days about our policies on harassment, particularly around two YouTube creators, Carlos Maza and Steven Crowder. These are important issues we'd like to provide more details and context for. Great. Are you actually going to do that? No, of course not. Since YouTube started 14 years ago, we've been focusing on providing a platform where anyone can broadcast themselves, connect with people, and share voices, their experiences with the world. Now, you really just you care about pumping Stephen Colbert videos in everybody's face. You don't really care about individual creators anymore. This has brought a lot of good, like two YouTube creators who raised charity, blah, blah, blah. But it's also created many challenges. One of the most important issues we face is around harassment. Well, that's because nobody can actually properly describe what that even is. This, and as also with words like hate speech, nobody knows what that is. If you ask 10 blue checkmarks on Twitter, they'll
I've asked people to define hate speech, and then they link me to definitions of hate speech. But the thing is, their definitions of hate speech are just opinions, really, because it's completely subjective what a hate speech is. Because that guy's list maybe had 5 things on it now. YouTube has like 13 items on their list that they consider hate speech. Immigration status, what the fuck? You can't criticize immigration status. This guy's an illegal alien. You're not allowed to say on YouTube. He broke into your country. You're technically describing a law he did. You're stating something factual.
Probably all give you different answers that, in my opinion, usually boil down to things that hurt my feelings. And when corporations are removing monetization from people who are making a living, like Steven Crowder, who also has multiple employees, this creates an even bigger problem, because you have thousands of videos, millions of views get demonetized in an instant with no real direction on how to change it and how to really comply. That's why people really like this nebulous term, because they can just bend it and make it apply to whatever the heck they want. And the same goes for harassment. It's the same thing. And they talk about some really scary, really frightening examples here. We enforce our policies here rigorously, regardless of the content creator in question. That's absolute baloney. You can look at Colbert, who's basically done a lot talking about the president, for example, and YouTube doesn't ban him. Steven Crowder talking about another public figure, he gets in trouble. I mean, you don't have to be really plugged in to see all the hypocrisy that YouTube has. In the first quarter of 2019, we removed tens of thousands of videos and accounts that violated policies on cyberbullying. We also removed hundreds of millions of comments, which were flagged and removed. Great, thanks. That said, policies need to keep up with current problems. One particular challenge we face more these days is creator harassment. Again, they use this word, that meme, like you keep using this word, and I don't think you know what it means. Critique is not that. Making fun of somebody is not that. Telling your followers to go do something or encouraging them, even indirectly, I could see you make a case for. But it would have to be more than once. It would have to be, over a period of time. It's not just one video that you didn't like that was particularly mean. It's an issue that Susan addressed in the last creator letter. We update our policies on an ongoing basis to make sure they're current. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I really do. But at the end of the day, we, the creators, have no idea what it is. We don't know. Because it's always changing, and it's always whatever. Basically, hate speech is whatever people are mad about. Okay. As mentioned, one of our upcoming projects will be to re-examine our harassment policy. As an open platform, we sometimes host opinions and views that many, ourselves included, may find offensive. These could be edgy stand-up comedian routines, a chart-topping song, or a charged political rant, and more. Yeah, what about Childish Gambino's "This Is America"? How about that? I'm sure a lot of people were offended by that, but you're not going to take that down, are you? By the way, I wasn't offended by it, just saying. Short moments from these videos spliced together paint a troubling picture, but individually, they don't always cross the line. So what they're referring to is this Carlos Maza guy taking every bit of anything bad that anyone's ever said to him in the history of the universe and splicing together greatest hits and then paint a picture that he's under constant attack. Look, people can, I don't condone getting personal. I don't even really condone personal attacks. Like Crowder does live on the razor's edge in terms of kind of edgy humor, especially. The thing is, you can make jokes about, for example, straight white males all you want. There's really nothing out of bounds. But when you talk about someone in the LGBT community, or you talk about a woman, this is a different set of standards. I mean, this is not me, making a theory. This is just
there's double standards.
Fact. You can see it play out every single day in terms of how Twitter interacts with people and how YouTube interacts with people. The two key policies here are for harassment. We look at what is the purpose of the video. Is it to incite harassment, threaten, or humiliate an individual? Okay, so if you say something really dumb, then the intent for people to point that out might be to humiliate you. What about all the creepy Joe Biden videos? I'm sure he was humiliated by those. Are you going to let him flag them down? And also, this is another one of those rules. Or whether personal information was revealed. That I agree with. We consider the entire video. For example, is it a 2-minute dedicated to going after an individual? A 30-minute video of political speech where different individuals are called out a handful of times? Is it focused on a public or private figure? For hate speech, we look at the primary purpose of the video, and this is a huge issue.
All right, enough of this.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I was listening to my friend Ryan Callahan's podcast today. It's Cal's Week in Review, and he was talking about this animal that this bird rather, that people eat, and they drown this bird in brandy. They take this little tiny bird, each one of them is like just a few ounces, and they drown them in brandy, and then when you eat them whole. You eat everything, the guts, you eat the tissue, the skin. God. That's where it is.
Oh, this is demonetized.
What is the name of it? How do I pronounce it?
Ortolan.
And so when you eat it, you put
French,
a napkin over your head traditionally when they eat it. And as they eat it, Bourdain was the first one to tell me about this shit.
What the fuck?
Oh no, it was Duncan. Duncan Trussell was the first person to tell me about this shit. And
So
Bourdain loved it.
soak the bird in brandy.
They drown it.
Okay.
They drown it in brandy, and then they cook it somehow or another. But anyway, go back to that picture where those guys are eating it, where you can see go back to the picture with see how they have those things over their head? They put these napkins over their head to take in the aromas and to trap the aromas, and they also do it to hide their face from God. That was the idea. Yeah.
What kind of people are these?
I think it's Europeans. I think it's something that in France it's popular. It's a popular dish, and it's endangered. Not endangered now, but they're. Yeah, it's okay. Ortolans. Could France's cruelest food be back on the menu? As French chefs lobby for ortolan to be reintroduced onto menus, we explain why cooking the rare and delicate songbird is so controversial. So that's even grosser, right? It's a songbird. Like how they named it a songbird. It's not a little tiny dinosaur. No, it's a songbird. It just wants to sing for you and make the woods brighter. Tweet, tweet, tweet. As poachers caught vast. What's 50 as to kill? This is where the.
Well, my one viewer might have left because that was so gross. Don't worry, it's gone now.
You want the
that was a short video.
Oh.
Now we're going to talk about something
Do you mind?
tech related. What the fuck's up with my one viewer? You might be the guy I've shown this before. But I have like wall mounts.
Good. Yeah.
For my monitors. I can rotate them like this, up, down, left, right. It holds 2 monitors.
And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the WAN Show. Luke is cavorting about in Asia, so he couldn't join us, but that's okay. We have budget Luke. Sorry, is it discount?
It's discount Luke.
Discount Luke, sorry.
Cavort. Jump or dance around excitedly. I hope he's cavorting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's cavorting. He loves hanging out over there. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason that he wanted to go to Computex. Luke, if you're watching, I'm on to you.
It's the only time he cavorts.
Yes, the only time he cavorts.
I rarely cavort, but when I do, it's
It's become a needle mover for us.
Okay, talk about it.
Direct chefs move the needle for you?
You have seen our 100% YouTube live super chat, blah, blah, blah. Okay, when I clicked the estimated revenue in YouTube's analytics, it was roughly 30% less than the total super chat amount. So they take a 30% cut of super chats through YouTube.
That's exorbitant.
Well, yes and no.
It's exorbitant.
Hold on a second. Yes and no. It's not quite that simple because, for one thing, Google, while they do use their own payment processor, which saves them a lot, if they were using a third-party payment processor, you could be looking at as much as 30 cents or more per transaction, plus a percentage of the transaction. So even if I was just using Stripe or Braintree to take $1 from you over the internet, thank you very much, I would still be giving 30% of that, over 30% of that, to my payment processor. This is something that we've learned the hard way as we've developed Floatplane. Luke's not here, so we're not going to talk about Floatplane a ton today, but...
that's blockchain.
Yeah, but no.
That's not what I want to talk about. Let's talk about this Mac stand.
Over $100 million of assets.
Like, are you saying you've never...
Like, I through some of
Go to
our
the WAN doc.
favorite $6,000 for an 8-core processor makes a ton of sense.
Now, from like an optimization standpoint, what does that mean?
It means that you're getting effectively 66% of the memory bandwidth that you otherwise would. Now, with that said, you've only got a piddly 8-core processor, so who cares, I guess, because it's not like a 28-core where you could legitimately have a workload you're running on it that needs all of that memory bandwidth. Like, you just don't have the compute to justify it anyway. But I also just don't think that an 8-core configuration of this machine should exist.
It doesn't make sense.
A workstation?
Like, so much of the price of this thing is making up for the R&D of the case design.
My computer's 8
to me,
cores.
that you're just not getting any value on the low end.
On the low end, I think there's people already defending it, but I don't understand these people, because on the low end, you should just be buying a latest gen iMac. It has an 8-core processor. ECC memory, it's a really interesting feature, because I even went as far. So we published a very negative review of Intel's previous Xeon W lineup, the one that was based on their LGA 2066 platform.
All right, I'm done now.
And what Anthony and I concluded, and I ultimately said in the video, was
tomorrow?